Sub-Saharan Africa on forestry research, policy and management, forestry investment and finance, forest ecosystem dynamics and restoration, and sustainability standards and certification systems. I believe some of the participants maybe even have less than 30 years old. He has held various private, public, and academic positions in sectors including forestry, pulp and paper, oil and gas, and mining. For his educational background, he has a BSc in biology, an MSc in forest management, and this is really intriguing. Interestingly, he also has a PhD in tropical peat forest science. This is really a hot topic specifically for peat fire science. So I'm curious, Dr. Brady, the floor is now is yours.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Yenni. I will share my screen. Oops, sorry, just a second here. There, have you now got the full screen?
Yes, we can see that, yeah.
I think you do.
Please go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Yenni. Thank you to the organizers for inviting me to talk today. I'm going to be speaking specifically about fire prevention in peatlands and some of the lessons from Indonesia. I'd like to acknowledge some of my colleagues at the Center for International Forestry Research and World Agroforestry, CIFOR ICRAF. That's Sinta Silviana and Ahmad Dermawan. So I'm going to provide a little bit of background on fire issues in Indonesia, a little bit on drivers, impacts, and then really focus in on fire prevention measures and how prevention has evolved over time and over different landscapes. And then I'll conclude. I'd like to explain to you some of the CIFOR research and development work that we've been doing on wildland fire, give you a sense of some of the topics. So I think everyone is quite familiar with the fact that forest and land fires in the country are predominantly caused by humans. Very, very few fires have been attributed to things such as lightning strikes, although there is some documentation, but largely it's human caused. And these human causes range from just pure negligence, accidental, to intentional burning. And some of the intentional burning is around land clearing for a variety of reasons: settlements, agriculture, plantations, and land clearing is obviously the least expensive way to clear vegetation from land. Fires also are intentionally caused over land conflicts. We've been watching these over the last several decades, ranging from individuals to individuals and organizations. Social jealousy, another issue around things like land tenure uncertainties, where fire can often be clearing land by fire can often be a way to informally claim land tenure, and many, many other activities: firewood collection, hunting, bee honey collection, camping, and burning of waste. And in Indonesia in particular, fires can occur in both peat and non-peat soils. And I'll talk a little bit about that later, but it's a unique feature of Indonesian wildland fire. Just going like to go through some of the recent history of wildland fire in Indonesia. There are a number of accounts of longer, fires occurring well back in time, thousands of years, where fire evidence of burning on the landscape has been identified in parts of Papua and some of the mountainous areas in Sumatra. But more recently, the first big wildland fire event was during the 1982-83 El Nino dry period. Just to show you how old and codgy I am, I was in Indonesia at that point and did follow that particular fire event, mainly in East Kalimantan. So that was the first big fire period that gained international attention, recognition. In 1997, 1998, it was another serious El Nino event. And this is generally considered to be the worst fire period, where approximately 10 million hectares of land and forests were burned. It's another minor El Nino in 2006. And this had a particular impact because of at that time, there was a lot of land clearing for plantation development and also for settlement development. So a lot of fuel availability. There was another El Nino in 2015, again doing damage, about 2.6 million hectares, and most recently in 2019, where fires occurred largely in Sumatra, Kalimantan, but other parts of eastern Indonesia as well. So you can see large fire events are generally associated with El Nino dry periods, but in the last 10 to 15 years, we're seeing wildland fires occurring almost every year during dry seasons. Fortunately, the last 2 years have been relatively wet. Okay. So what are some of the drivers of wildland fire? As I mentioned, now multiple drivers, and we're seeing fires occurring almost every year. Central Kalimantan has experienced substantial burning, substantial fires during these different dry periods. I think many of you are aware of a large rice development project that took place on peatlands in central Kalimantan, and this was the source of substantial fires, largely during the 1997-98 period and subsequent. The occurrence of drought has, as I said earlier, fire has always been part of the natural environment, human caused, but it's really in the last several decades where increasing availability of fuels, increasing droughts, increasing populations on the landscape have led to greater incidence of fire. And there's been a number of, particularly related to peatlands, through development, large areas of peatlands have been drained for land use activities. And so decreasing groundwater levels have also been a substantial reason for peat or fire occurrence. The table on the right-hand side of the slide provides an estimation of the percentage of peatland areas in different provinces in Kalimantan and Sumatra. Again, central Kalimantan, Riau province and Sumatra are both areas where fire has historically occurred. But we also recognize fires occurring on different segments of the landscape. Typically, old growth forest, natural undisturbed primary forest, typically does not burn even in serious dry periods. Very few cases of unmanaged or undisturbed forest burning. But certainly as forest is modified through harvesting, through clearing, through degradation, fire becomes much more common as the canopy becomes more open, temperatures increase, more fuel available, and of course the maximum fire occurrences are in areas where forest has been largely cleared. We have secondary forest, scrub areas that have burned previously. And these, some more recent assessment of burned areas have really identified most fires now occurring in areas of secondary vegetation and areas that have already burned. So the term forest fire, in some ways, is becoming really not relevant. Very few fires are occurring in forests. These are mainly grassland, scrubland type fires. And of course, in mosaic landscapes where you have agricultural activities, land clearing for annual agricultural production or swidden agriculture is also a strong source of burning. Impacts, I think many of us are well aware over the last several decades of some of the serious impacts to air quality, public health, disruption of social and economic activities, transportation being a predominant impact, environmental damage. We see issues around flooding and landslide events following fire where the ground cover vegetation has been disturbed. And of course, transboundary haze pollution in Southeast Asia has been a serious concern. But really now focusing on the main part of what I'd like to talk to you about is prevention and how prevention has changed over time and over different landscapes. I'll talk a little bit about this changing paradigm, starting with sort of the most basic tools for fire prevention, so fire danger rating systems for early warning, and then a variety of measures that have been put in place over time as lessons have been learned, systems have been developed, management has been financed, and law has been enforced. So I'll go through each of these different prevention measures. So as I mentioned, I think we can clearly see fire prevention has evolved over time. Prior to 2015, we refer to as an old paradigm where fire was not well anticipated. There were only a number of agencies, mainly forestry agencies, looking or dealing with fire in forested lands, but not necessarily settled lands, low budgets, poor or weak monitoring information, and reporting was still at a very early time. So prevention was not that strong in this earlier period. Say after the 2015 fires, the recognition that prevention needs to be a priority, that certainly came out of those serious fires. Involving communities in fire prevention and management became more common. Early warning and detection systems became more developed, more sophisticated. and early response activities were developed by some of the management agencies. So after 2015, there was a recognition of preventing fires based on a time perspective, looking at different phases of fire periods, from like a pre-crisis phase, preparation activities, warning activities, a crisis or mitigation phase, and a mop-up phase, and an evaluation phase. And these have all been associated with different times in the calendar of the year. So that's certainly an evolution of management. I mentioned earlier, fire danger rating is a tool that was introduced in Indonesia in 1997. And I had the opportunity to be involved and develop, working with a number of Indonesian agencies, develop the Indonesian fire danger rating system and develop management approaches to address different fire danger levels. That expanded, and there is now an ASEAN fire danger rating system. So the whole region, Southeast Asia region, can assess fire danger, which is fire danger is a condition of fires occurring, doing damage, and spreading. It's a forecast of current conditions for fire ignition. It's not a monitoring or detection tool. Regulations and enforcement are a very strong part of fire prevention, and these, I think, we've seen evolve over time. I was personally involved as an expert witness in some court cases back in the late 1990s. We lost the cases badly. Expert witness and evidence was very poorly developed back then, but it's evolved quite substantially since. And I think you all know Pak Bambang, and he's really led the country, and I think even the tropical world in enforcement and use of regulations as one aspect of fire prevention. And this has involved really identifying appropriate public authorities, law enforcement authorities, government ministries, setting policy, setting systems in place for fire management and investigation, broadening that to other ministries where fire is an issue, and of course strengthening the meteorology, climatology, and geophysical agency that is monitoring fire weather. It also has evolved a series of regulations, increasingly more specific on regulating fire, burning, and the sanctions and penalties associated. And a number of these have been tested in courts, and Pak Bambang has been a very, very strong part of that, and has recently received a very substantial award, international award. Early detection systems, also a strong part of fire prevention. While fires being detected at early stages can be communicated, and prevention measures put in locations where these fires have been detected. Quite technical. I won't go into the details of the technology, but perhaps some of these will come up later. Water management is another strong element of preventing fires in peatlands, where water tables are naturally high or even flooding. So where water where land is being developed and water tables are being, or water's being drained, control measures are very important for fire prevention. And water management has evolved quite steadily in Indonesia over the last several decades as peatlands have been developed.
Sir Brady, you have
Integrated,
2 minutes left. I'm sorry.
How many?
2 minutes left.
Okay. I'll speed up. Integrated peatland management, another part of prevention, where we're looking at different zones of activity use, and that's helping to identify different prevention approaches in different zones. Of course, something CIFOR has been very well involved with is community-based fire prevention. I've got a number of examples here of some of the work that CIFOR has done on participatory action research, working with communities on fire prevention and peatland restoration. So you can look at these at your leisure. Campaigns and capacity building, obviously communicating to the public, to enterprise, private sector, land users on fire prevention needs and actions to prevent fire. And that includes training and education. Alternative livelihood development. I talked a little earlier about community fire prevention. Part of that involves trying to work with communities to identify alternative livelihoods where burning is not as intense or required. So this is another example. Finally, fuel reduction management can be considered as a form of prevention. This is an issue that is just, it's emerged as an important issue in, say, the global north. And I can see that it is being recognized in the global south as an important part of fire management. And that is reducing the amount of fuel on the landscape, either through things like controlled burning to remove fuel prior to a fire season, so under controlled conditions. And this is controlled burning is a technique that has not been introduced or well recognized in Southeast Asia, and I think this is something that will evolve. There actually are some ASEAN guidelines on controlled burning. So just going through some of the CIFOR research on wildland fire, we've been looking at fire since 1994. We've published an extensive number of reports, publications, and articles on a variety of topics. You can see, I won't go through this, but you can see the list of different topics related to fire that many of our reports, journal collections have addressed. Our fire program is active, something I manage in CIFOR. Here's some location information and a list of some of the current fire projects where prevention is included. And I'll just speak briefly about these. We have a repository of projects, knowledge products, and multimedia on fires and haze. So I'd encourage you to look at the CIFOR fire website sections, and you can where they're explained in more detail. We're working with ASEAN on a program sponsored by IFAD. This is a measurable action for haze-free sustainable land management in Southeast Asia. So it's a regional project, and our particular focus is to strengthen the collection and dissemination of knowledge products around many different aspects of fire management, including prevention. We've got a brand new website, so I'd encourage you to have a look at that. And I mentioned earlier activities on community-based fire prevention and peat restoration. This is a project run by Dr. Harry Pernomo. Many of you know Harry, and he's got a new activity following on in both Riau province as well as some activities in South Sumatra. We've also been involved in research around water management, in particular trying to understand groundwater dynamics, and so have done some very detailed studies around groundwater monitoring in areas around where we've got these community-based projects. So you can see some of the details of we've been working on in these different research areas, very specific. And with that, I'll close, hopefully on time. But thank you very much for listening to my talk on prevention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brady. What an impressive presentation. I can't stop you, really. Well, actually, it's maybe not really sharp 20 minutes, but really impressive presentation. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, before we move to our next speaker, I can see that the participants almost reached 200. And so would you like to have a picture? And please kindly turn on your video. We can have a really quick photo session. And perhaps the organizer can help to guide us. So for those who already turn on your video, please. Robbie, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. Should I say 1, 2, 3 and smile?
Okay. Okay.
Are we done? Are we done or?
On cam, participant on cam, slide 2, 3, 4. Okay. Photo session 1. One, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. Slide 2. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. 3 slides. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, 4.
How many slides? How many slides do you have?
1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the session. Thank you.
Okay, the photo session is over. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue to our next speaker. We have here, would you like to share the profile, the CV for Dr. Veerachai Tanpipat? Yeah. So Dr. Veerachai, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he just said, okay, call me Chai. Okay. So Chai is a research scientist at Upper ASEAN Wildland Fire Special Research Unit Forestry Research Center at Kassetsart University of Thailand. He also involved as member of groups including the National Association of Underwater Instructors, Hydroinformatics Institute, the DG of Pollution Control Department, the Global Flood Partnership, as well as the several working groups including the Asia Advanced Network, Open and Sharing Data, Disaster Mitigation, Agriculture, Rural Hybridization, Climate Resilient Agriculture for Disaster Risk Reduction, and E-Culture and Network Engineer Working Groups. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in Geography and Planning from Toledo University, the United States, a Master of Arts in Geography and Environmental Studies from the Northeastern Illinois University of the United States, and a Doctor of Engineering in Remote Sensing and Geographic Information Systems from Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. He recently received 2 awards, the top 10 finalists in Social Science National Innovation Awards in 2016 from National Innovation Agency, Ministry of Science and Technology, Thailand. And his topic was related to forest fire danger rating system for Lower Mekong region and Thailand. And then he also received the annual Good Research Awards from National Research Council, Thailand in 2019 with topic related to key performance indicator improvement. So for that, we also curious what your talk this afternoon. Thai, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I'll share my screen here. Okay. Is it on?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. I will go it faster than Michael because we are a little bit behind. But before I start my due to the work that Michael and his team, Build the Group have been done for ASEAN for fire danger rating system. So I think 10 years ago, Bill asked me to do the new calibration for Upper ASEAN because we got it wrong. Those are for peat forest only. So now we get something. It's not perfect, but according to Bill, the group is okay. So it should be okay a little bit, but until we have more funding, then we can improve it. But now we have new threshold for our fire weather index and fire fuel moisture content. So we have a little bit more detail on the map that we produce daily. And then it move a bit to be a forecast like Bill would like to see. It's an early warning system. So we put the weather forecast, like 7-day of weather forecast into the system. So we have like 6 days in advance of the map of the condition of the Upper ASEAN. So at least we have something to use that a little bit better than the old version that having only for the peat forest, sorry. Okay, thank you, Michael Bradley, for bringing the technology to ASEAN. Okay, Pak Bambang asking me to speak about Thailand, Northern Thailand, what we have been doing for the some solutions. Some are working, some are not. So I will just go quickly, like at the overview where where are Thailand, where Upper ASEAN. So this is what I'm gonna go through. Just a map to show that this is like Upper ASEAN I'm talking about, a little bit above the Southern Thailand, let's say, because those are peat forest, peat fire when we have it. So just a little bit up, and then mountainous area in Laos, in Thailand, Myanmar a little bit, okay? Just to show that we have a little bit of valley. So we also have valley effect, and we have the temperature inversion or subsidence inversion with also cause big problem with the air quality every year, annually, because of this thermal inversion or subsidence inversion that happen annually during February, March, and sometimes even April. So this is another example up in the north. That's the Pai, and then before this is a Chiang Mai, which is famous that you know that it's a valley. So valley effect is just a typical thing that happens every year. And then when you have a little bit of smoke, it costs more. And we now concern a lot about the health that caused by PM 2.5. So we have been installing the low cost sensor for air quality sensor, a lot in the northern Thailand. And then we have different tribes up in the mountain. So we talk different languages. Sometimes it's quite difficult to to really understand their tradition. But we know that they use fire. So we still need to make the understanding with them. And most of the fire in the northern Thailand is happening in deciduous forest where the leaf shading. So we have fields accumulate every year. Okay, and then we also have the problem with this monocrop, the maize, the corn that feed into the animal feed industry, which we happen to be. Thailand is the highest export, I think, in the world for this animal feed. So we need a lot of material to feed into this industry. And then this maize expanding into Laos, PDR, and then Myanmar as well. And then we do chip cultivation, but now it's changing. It's shifting to rotation crop. But I'll explain later why. And then the main cause in northern Thailand, let's just say that is a hunting in non-timber products and conflicts that cause fire up here. And then the smoke haze transboundary also happens. Maybe from, I don't know, they say from Myanmar or from Laos, maybe from Thailand to Laos, but Thailand to Myanmar, we're not really certain about that because those are from the simulation, not the field validation yet. So we don't really know the wind system that carry those smoke and what time, which direction. So we still need more research on that to really point out that the smoke, like you can see, this is from the Modis burn area product that 22 years. You can overlay them. FAO collect earth. This one too is called earth map that you can overlay them. 22 years of products. Then you can see which area in Upper ASEAN or in Thailand having fire burning in the past 22 years. So just zoom into the northern Thailand. You can see that in Myanmar a little bit more than Thailand. In Laos also happened, but increasing, I guess, maybe. For the statistic, this is only from the satellite. Okay, that's the thing. This is only from the satellite. So this is the burn area from that map. You can tell that the condition are better, I guess. But those years, what happened because of the La Nina, like last year, 2021, we have a La Nina, then the less fires up in Thailand, I mean, in Thailand up north, and then also in Myanmar and Laos. And this year also, we expect to have a La Nina, but we'll see because due to this climate change, we don't know, okay, what's going to happen because of the any forecast might change because that climate change, we really not understand what is going on. And then when you look at the emission, this is from the work of the Udo Valdewolf at NASA. This emission database at NASA, you can tell that the last year, I mean, he ran only to until 2020, that the emission is reducing comparing with the previous year, like 2007, or even further is higher. Okay, but different database, you can look at this. We can, you also have to look at different database, and then this Google Engine link can link you to 5 database and compare. Okay, they are different because they calculate differently. Just say that. Having discussed this with Bob Jokausen, and then he said because of the calculation are different, you cannot expect the same, but the trend, you can tell that the trend right here on the right are similar, okay, just a different number. So this is just to show that in 5 global fire emission database look like this, okay. You can look at detail later with all those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just to show that which month is going on in for the forest fire up northern Thailand. mostly in March, that the peak one. When you look at other country, for Myanmar, it's also in March, and then in Laos, PDR, in April actually, but then March and April are similar condition, and Cambodia is start earlier in January and February. Vietnam, the peak is in March. You don't look at the number. This is just a graph to show, because the number on the y-axis are different. Okay, this is just to show which month that what have the peak fire season up in the upper ASEAN. This is from the satellite perspective, but with the we call it what with the field data, they are all the same. So we have some solution that we have been doing. So we also have the no burning period and no burning policy, okay, enforcing. And we also have the single command that the governor is the one who control everything. And we also have the direct order from the Prime Minister to reduce the concern PM 2.5. And then we have military support for fire suppression and control, and even the surveillance. They support that. Strong law enforcement, including increase the penalty. A lot of research funding went to in the past, I don't know, 5-10 years in the Northern University to find out what's going on and try to find a solution. And we also have this adapted with the mobile application. So we have a lot of mobile app coming out so people can use those mobile app easily to access the data. But the problem is that sometimes they think that this mobile app will answer the question or to solve the problem, but it actually is not. Okay, and then we try to do this prescribed burning, but still now have the conflict with the air quality problem. So we have it, but not as many as before. So we're trying to they have to ask the permission from this the single command order that you have to get it from the governor to allow you to do the prescribed burning even in the protected area. And we also have this forest innovation value added products. So you can the research having this out, like we can make the plate from the leaves, but the problem is the market. You can have so many things of this forest fire innovation value added products, but you don't have the market to support it, and it's kind of difficult. You can present a lot of idea, but when you not generate income for the people, to the local people, it's not really going to work. The changing from the monoculture practice to multiculture, the clash crop or the agroforestry, that we have this theory, the 3 forest type and 4 benefits by the King Rama IX, the late King Rama IX, sufficiency economy. And then currently, the extreme pressure from the pushing from the urban people and the politician to have this Clean Air Act in Thailand, to have a higher air quality standard. So they install, like I said before, a lot of low-cost air quality sensor, and then they also proposed the new AQI to use in Thailand. But the Clean Air Act proposal is still going on in the parliament. We don't know what's going on, but what's going to happen? We have like 5 versions currently to be considered, so we have to wait and see. And then we have the project of national forest restoration by everybody helping, to increase this, to increase more water storage in the forest. And then you have more forest mean like more water. And then we doing this carbon credit thing. So for this forest restoration project, you can have a higher carbon sink. And then we now going to, like Michael said before, that this doing fire prevention more than the fire control or fire suppression is much cheaper, and then it's a long run thing that we need to do, and try to mitigate the climate change. And then by increasing the moisture in the forest, we doing this a lot of check dams to spread the moisture, to slow it down, water to flowing out. Then we have more moisture in the forest, longer a little bit during the dry season. And then this lately in one national park called Hue Nam Dang in the north, they're trying to distribute the food during the dry season to the local people, to the villagers. And last year it was good because less fires eventually. But we still don't know that it really because of this food distribution or because of the La Nina. Okay. And the new national park, wildlife protection and community forest law in 2019, which is allow people who are living like illegally in the protected area to live legally. So we reduce the conflicts, because most of the time when you have conflict in Thailand, the people, what they can do is light the fire, ignite more fires in the deeper forest, something like that. So that's the way that the people getting back with the authority. And lately, with the current government, we have this National Committee of Land Right, that people for land reform can have the right to stay and then doing their activity in protected area or reserve forest, or even in the agricultural landform area. So by doing this, if they have the right already and found out later that they ignite the fire, their land right will be provoked, which is good. Well, in the peat forest in the southern Thailand, much less fire in the past couple of years because of this. And then we also have the community-based fire management network, but loosely. Okay, we just giving some of the support money from the government, but not all, maybe 1%. So this fire network is not really working tightly. And we also have the community-based water management. Then now the idea that let's just say I think that we should combine them, community-based fire and water management, where when you have water, you tend to have, you be able to have a different variety of crash crops, or then you can generate more income. If people not seeing the income, I don't think it's going to work. We have seen so many community-based work. When the funding gone from any kind of funding, the people will go back to the same what they have done. So the best way, some of them that working because of they have this additional income, and the additional income come from the efficient and effective water management. If they don't have enough water, we try to create water for them, and we try to find the market for whatever they would like to plant and sell them, so they can see the income and it's working. Okay, and this is the concept. So I'm not going to go into detail. You can read later. But you have to have a set of rules, like a rule of law for each community to follow. So this go on and on. The example, this one is just the name in the middle. Ban Hue Parot is working well so far up to now, because people can, like I said, then they have a good water, then they have can plant crash crop all years, then they can come out from the protected area. This one is in the national park, and sell on the road. And they have a separate market that people pass when they pass on the road, on the side of the road. They have a small market. People stop by and buy those crash crop. It's just, and then or they can have these coffees. They have their own coffee type whatsoever, and then they generate more income. And so far, it's working fine and people are happy. Okay, this is the community's fire and water management rule of law that you need to have. Okay, at least 10 of them.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I don't see any changing in your slides. Is there?
Oh,
that?
Sorry.
Yeah. So you're speaking. Yeah, you're talking a lot, but I didn't see that the slides change.
Oh, really?
And anyway, you have 2 minutes left.
Okay. Let's see. Wait. Let me wait.
Yeah. Please.
Let me stop first.
Yeah. And reload.
What happened here? Okay. Sorry. Nothing changed at all.
No, it's only the slide with solution. That's all, and fix there. Doesn't change at all.
Oh, sorry. Okay, 2 minutes. Let's wrap up then. Let's see. Share again. Okay, now see.
Yeah. So where were you? Oh, yeah. We don't see that.
Okay.
So you already talk a lot. Yeah. So you say that. Okay, here the example, here's the example, but we didn't see anything. Okay, but you can start from the slide. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, not full then. Maybe it's something wrong with my program. So this is just the example of what we have been doing, and this is the regeneration in the past 4 or 5 years on the same place. Okay. This is the way we try to do. We increase the moisture by the check dam, and then when you have enough water, you can do this tree forest type and full benefit. Okay. Moreover, we try to introduce this IoT system into the villagers up in the mountains, standalone system that you can see later. Okay, you can look at it later. And we also have this network in the Southeast Asia under the projects. And this paper you can read later. Suggestion, we try to suggestion we have it from the meeting that and the training that the developing an effective management system with the rule allocation and restriction needed. Build a network of sharing knowledge, lesson learned, and problem best practice. Find easy and simpler communication to the decision maker and policy maker. The public awareness, you know that we need to do it. Implement community-based fire and water management, the new idea. Do it together. Trying to understand the nature and the timing of the burning so we can manage better. Okay. And then consider underlying socioeconomic and conflict factor as well. We need to consider indigenous knowledge and wisdom along the way. And we have to strengthen the regional and international collaboration or cooperation. It would be nice to have the crowd-based centralized fire and smoke haze information early warning supporting system for all that people can access. This is just a piece of article that when we compare different years, we need to consider the weather of different years as well, not looking just only the hotspot number, because most of the time we look at that and we got it wrong, I think. So, and challenges have how can we get the same mindset? Have collect fire and smoke science as a fundamental information. How can we increase incomes for the people? We can try to change mindset to the conservation and preservation mindset with the individuals, and the livelihood need to be improving. And then along the way, we have this can restore the degraded land. And then we have this integration of the old and new knowledge. Finally, fire and smoke situation in Thailand seems to be improving, but it is because of unusual rain during the fire season, or because of the management or rural regulation that are along the way. Community-based fire and water management is really needed. People ignite fire because of the economy, okay? And then social issue. Improving livelihood is the way to reduce the ignition rate. Smoke haze will be a problem that needs to be reduced. And then the sustainability, resilient and adaptation are our goal. Again, going back to the old motto, think globally and act locally. Thank you.
Thank you, Chai. From Dr. Brady and Chai, we can see that from the case of Indonesia and Thailand, I would say there's no sign of the natural, how to ignite the fires from both countries. That's what I understand. And the key from that is also how to manage the people, and also the climate also affect a lot with all of the fire occurrences. And also there's a water management. That's also another key for both countries. And it seems that both countries increasing the capabilities on how to prevent the fires with the new technologies, more satellite data to look at to prevent the bigger fire continuously. I think that's what we need to hear from another country. We have now Peter. Can we have his profile, his CV, please? Peter, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so let me read your CV first. Mr. Peter Sihol is currently employed as an officer for Planning and Cooperation Division of the Department of Forestry, LAPAN's Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry. He previously held the position of officer at the REDD Plus office. And additionally, he serves as a member on the Korea Mekong Forest Cooperation Center. He holds a higher diploma in forestry from the National University of Laos, PDR, and a master's degree in agriculture and rural development from the Republic of Korea's Hangkyong National University. His work experiences, trainings, and educations have provided him with a variety of competencies, including data analysis, communication, and climate change, carbon, REDD plus related expertise. So, Peter, the floor is yours now.
Yeah, thank you, Yenni. Could you please share my slide?
Okay, sure. The organizer, Robbie, would you like to help him, please? Oh, Peter, you want to share
my slide?
your own screen? Okay, yeah. Yeah, we can see your slide, and now just make it slideshow, please.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, I would like to thank to inviting me to join the ITTO webinar, 7th webinar. Today, I'm gonna present about very briefly in terms of the forest fire management in the Laos PDR. And in Laos, we face the forest fire during the dry season, actually, in Laos. And another thing is from the human activities. So may I go through my presentation? Can you see?
Peter, would you like to make it a slideshow? Your PowerPoint, please.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, that's perfect.
Can you see?
Yeah,
okay.
It's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. The problem with the unstable connection, internet connection, yeah, in my working place. Okay. Here is the country profile. As I said earlier, we have, in Laos, we have 70% is the mountainous country increase. And we also, the abundance of forest, natural forest in the Laos. As you see, we have now 62% based on the forest inventory 2020. And in Laos, we categorize in 3 categories of the forest. First one is the national protection forest area. Second one is the conservation forest area and forest land. And the third is the national production forest area. The number is, you can see on the screen, 3.1 is the PFA, and 4.8 million is the conservation area, and 7.9 million is the protection forest area. And also we, in Laos, we already now upgrade the national conservation into the national park. Right now we have 6 national parks in Laos PDR. And you can see what is the drivers of the, the forest cover change since 1940 until 2020. Before, we used to have the abandon of the, natural forest, and during the 2000, we lost the forest cover because of the 4 drivers, the main drivers, like expansion of the agriculture by the human activities, shifting cultivation, and to expansion of the infrastructure. Apart from that, we also face a problem during the 2010 of the illegal logging, but until 2015 we have the PMO number 15 to ban all the log and the export. That the background of the forest in Laos. So regarding to the forest fire in the Laos PDR is quite similar, and it's happened every year. Like from January to May is quite is very big damage to our natural forest. Nearly 90% of the forest fire is happened by the human activities. And apart from that, we also face the factors from the the infrastructure expansion, and for the another factors. The MoEF, or Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry, we play the main role for for the conserve or to management our existing national forests. And we also have the organization who will play the significant role in terms of the forest fire prevention and management. You can see in the slide, like we have national level and sub-national level who play the role as conservation or prevention of the forest fire. We have here Ministry of Agriculture, and we have Department of Forestry, and under the Forestry Department we have 10 divisions who involved, but particularly we have the one division who were taking care of the forest fire specifically. And at the subnational level, we also have the provincial governor, 17 provinces in the Laos. We have our Bafo and Dafo and village of the unit who are involved of the activity of the forest fire prevention. That the organization. As I said in the area about the law and the regulation, we try to to integrate or to conduct as follow, like to define on the existing regulations and necessary measure on the forest fire monitoring and prevention. And we conduct the dissemination and education activities to the community to raise the awareness about the forest fire and the danger of the fire, the forest fire. And third, we collect information, define area, which area is the risk, and plan to to send our team to protect the forest from the fire. And when forest fire occur, we also send the vehicle equipment as well as for the laborers from all party to to the place.
Peter, you are mute. Hello, Peter.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear?
Yeah. Yeah, you are back. Go
Okay,
ahead.
okay. Thank you. Sorry, technical problem. Okay. And we also have the the PMO order number 2094 on fighting activity. This order is makes to make sure the provincial agriculture and forestry organization and district level responsible for the fighting forest fire during the dry season, as I said, from Jan to May every year is normally occur based on the agriculture expansion and for the cost of the forest fire, and to make the PAFO and district level and DAFO for education local community about the forest fire, including the how to manage and the putting out of the reporting the forest fire in their communities. And we put the staff to the target area where is the sitting cultivation and where is the poor soil and the deforestation from the community that they are less than 5 meters from the streams, that we also put on the minister order, and prohibited shifting cultivation in evergreen forests, national biodiversity conservation or national park, watershed area, and to protect our area and protect the forest fire on the slope area would cause the landslide that we also mentioned on the order number 2094. And as I said, we have many existing order and regulation. This one is the one of the regulation number 0191. The Ministry of Agriculture order to, in terms of the strengthening on the responsible for forest fire protection and shifting cultivation, agricultural land encroachment prevention. Below is the lowest. That's the same thing as number 0191. I think for my presentation is quite brief, very brief presentation. Sorry for the less of the information. I can share you for very full report later on. And then you can see that what is the fire distribution patterns and the cropping area identification from 2008. We have here in 3 periods, 2008, 2009, and 2010 is the latest one. You can see the scatter of the active of fire distribution and the cropping area identification. You can see in the year 2010 is quite very significant because of the, as I said, because of the agriculture expansion, illegal encroachment of the communities, This also the same thing is the how to distribute pattern and the cropping area identification, the comparison between 2009 and 2010. You can see in the year 2010, we faced very big problem with the forest fire. I think it's quite small information. Thank you. Welcome for the suggestion and comments.
Thanks, Peter. I think some of the participants curious how you look like. So if you're not now presenting because of the
Sorry.
The internet connection, perhaps you can show.
Sorry, sorry, Yenni. Because if I switch on my camera, is the stable of the connection is unstable. That's why I have to shut the camera off.
Yeah, it's okay. So after you conclude the presentation, maybe you can show us your beautiful face. But anyway, I have like a quick question for you. What maybe I missed it. What is the agriculture? I mean, the type, is it maize, or is it because of the they plant for corn? There's a problem with the Thailand with the maize, I guess. What people plan for that, and then how they start to cut the forest? Is it for that agricultural expansion? I think that's a quick question. If you want to, you still have 5 minutes left.
Yes.
Want to add? Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. In Laos, we face the same problem with Thailand, like a corn plantation with the small community. They try to encroach the natural forest by clearing the big tree, and in Laos, especially in the north of Laos, we face very big problem with the corn. Planting by the communities, especially in the Luang Prabang province and Sayaburi province. That's the thing we face every year when January, the month of January come, and then they start, planting. That's why we face the problem with the agriculture expansion by the communities.
Okay, thanks, Peter. So for those who have questions, just please type on the chat room, and then the organizer will collect all the questions and will display during the question and answer session. We still have one more speaker. I believe Pak Sihol can't wait because are you there, Pak Sihol? Are you sleepy?
I'm here and I'm enjoying all the previous presenters. Yeah.
Perfect. So would you like the organizer, would you like to show the CV?
Yes, please. Yeah, it's my turn. Please kindly show my my presentation.
And first we go with the CV part.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, please.
Okay, just let me read your CV first. Okay. Okay, it looked like you, yes. the picture, of course. Okay, Mr.Sihol Parulian Aritonang was named President Director of Rio Andalan Pulp and Paper. This is a big company, in April 2018. He joined from the Tanoto Foundation, an independent philanthropic organization. Prior to joining Tanoto Foundation, in 2009, he worked as the Assistant Country Director for CARE International Indonesia, that is an international humanitarian and development organization. He also spent 10 years in Indonesia's capital markets and financial sectors. Pak Sihol's passion for education has led him to spend over 25 years as a lecturer at Universitas Indonesia. In 1993, he earned a Master of Business Administration from the University of Hawaii at Manoa and a Bachelor of Science in Economics from Universitas Indonesia in 1990. Currently, he also sits as the chair of the Executive Board of Indonesia Business Council for Sustainable Development. Pak Sihol, the floor now is yours.
Thank you. The organizer, please kindly show my presentation deck.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you again, Yenni, Dr. Brady, Dr. Chai, Mr. Peter Tagong, A pleasure to share this panel with you. Good afternoon and good evening for everyone. Thank you for having me in this webinar. It's an honor for April to have the opportunity to share our journey in implementing Fire-Free Village program. I will start with a brief description of the Fire-Free Village program, and then my colleague Dani Sumitran, who is with us also, who manages the Fire-Free Village program in Riau, will further elaborate. Yeah. Allow me first to make a brief introduction about April Group. Next slide. Okay, next. Okay, so April is a resource-based company that manages industrial forests where we plant acacia and eucalyptus sustainably. And we harvest and then convert the resulting wood into pulp, paper, and other value-added products. Our plantations are mainly in Sumatra. Most of them are in the province of Riau. And our mill is also located in the province of Riau. Now, as a forest landscape manager, fire prevention is key to our operations. We keep our forest concessions area free of fire, and also the area surrounding the industrial forest where communities live. Next. Now, we all, or most of us, would recall the widespread forest and land fire in Riau during 1999 to 2014. Yeah? Dr. Brady, Prof. Bambang Hero, documented this in their study, in their report. So we did a field observation, and we came to conclude that the typical causes of forest fire were agricultural land preparation and campfire remains. I believe Dr. Chai also mentioned this, similar observation in Thailand as well. Yeah. It was in 2014 then we set out to design what later on we call as Fire-Free Village program. Next. In the early part of designing the program, we mapped out where forest fires occur. Okay, so now the map we see here represents areas where April operates industrial forests. Yeah. Now, of course, the neighboring areas are also shown here, and we classify the area into 4 categories. Red colored area represents areas with extreme fire risk. Yellow represents high risk, and green and blue represents moderate to low risk. Okay, so we figured that we need to identify the villages adjacent to our area of operations to start the program. Yeah, and we thought that it's good if we can introduce some prevention program into the area. So back in 2014, when we started the program, we identified 9 villages as the starting point. Next. Okay, the design would focus on a few key principles. First of all, it should focus on prevention. Yeah, because our experience has shown that prevention is more effective. Prevention is less costly than suppression. Yeah, so the focus on prevention, and then it should involve communities and multi-stakeholders in the field. Yeah. And thirdly, the solutions should address economic variables. Yeah, including, we should offer alternative solutions to community issues, and it should also offer incentives. Yeah, so we believe these are the key features of, a potentially successful program. And yeah, I think we were successful in creating and designing and implementing such program. Okay, now my colleague Dani will take you through the 3 phases of the program. Next slide. Okay, the fire-aware community, fire-free village, and fire-resilient community. Just one note before I hand over to Dani. Yeah, while the previous presenters talk about the national landscape, Indonesia by Dr. Brady, and then Dr. Chai and Peter on a specific country level. Yeah, our fire-free village program is focused on landscape in Riau. Over to you, Dani.
Okay, thank you, Pak Sihol. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yenni. I'm working in April as Forest Protection and Conservation Manager. To continue from Pak Sihol's point, we'll take you through the 3 phases of the Fire-Free Village program. So this is the Fire-Free Village program. This program introduced the concept of fire prevention to the wider community, to develop their capability in social, economic, health, education, and environment. So there are 3 key elements for this program. The first one is a fire-aware community, where the focus is to introduce the hazard of the forest fires, how they affect health, the human health, and the basic of how to prevent forest and land fires. And what we are doing in this program, we go to the school to educate the students, engage communities through the MoEF, and approach religious leaders to communicate key message to reach particular groups. And the second is the Fire-Free Village program. This program is the main program for 2 years. And in this stage, focus is to shift communities away from relying on fire as a land management tool, and prepare incentives to the communities to avoid and prevent forest and land fires. There are 5 key elements of this program, and as you can see on the slide, the key element is number 1 is the No Burn Village Reward. Our reward as an incentive for the communities to stop the fire. And April provides a reward for 100 million rupiah. This is non-cash, and if the village is free of fire during the dry season period, then the community can use the reward to build the village infrastructure, and the community agree on the form of the incentive. So the next is the village crew leader. We hired the crew leader. We hired them from the local communities as a fire prevention advocates and fire suppression. And what they are doing is to do the fire preparation, patrol, and monitoring their area. And the third is sustainable agriculture assistance. April assists in land preparation without using fire as a tool to clear and prepare land for agriculture livelihood. And after that, we give them the community awareness, community fire awareness. So this program aims to educate and raise public awareness that focuses on the inappropriate use of fire and the burning impact, particularly those related to the human health. And the last is health monitoring. And this health monitoring is April provides health information to the community about the health monitoring. That's why April has been installed the health monitoring. So the last phase for the Fire-Free Village program is resilience community programs, which is an ongoing engagement with the communities who have passed through the Fire-Free Village program at least for 2 years. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is outcome target, and as you can see on the slide, that we can understand that after the Fire-Free Village program implemented, and then the community capabilities increased. So the number of the total burn in the village did not increase, but instead the significantly reduced. So far, the results have been positive, and the villages that participated in this program mostly achieved a fire-free record it means that the villages were able to reduce fire in their respective area. Next. These are some photos from the fire-aware community activities that we are doing in Riau. And we do socialization to the school, to the market, through the movies, and then through the religious leaders. Next. Okay, let's see our activity photos for representing the 5 elements of the fire privilege program. This is no burn reward, no burn village reward. The sample, this is in Tanjung Padang village. And this is our crew leader, and now we call them forest protection ranger. And for the agriculture assistant, this is sample for Pelalawan village, and this is the health monitoring. Okay, next. And we would like to highlight that the collaboration among multi-stakeholders, village heads, community leaders, local government, NGOs are essential to ensure the success of the program. And we collaborate with the stakeholders from the site level. We call it in Bahasa tingkat tapak. Okay, next. And this is the fire area decrease. What have we achieved so far? Based on the fire data, the number of total hectare burned in the village significantly reduced. This proves that the fire privilege program has succeeded in reducing the number of fires. As you can see on the chart that in 2013, which is the baseline year for fire privilege program, the burn area was around 4,000 hectares. And in 2021, we have succeeded to reduce the fire areas to 500 hectares. Yeah, while not yet eliminated, but forest and peat fires have been reduced in number in Indonesia. Well, we started this village MOUs covering over 147,000 hectares in 2014. And by 2021, our MOUs now cover more than 800,000 hectares within 7 years, sorry. And the number of the villages involved in the fire privilege program till 2021 is 39 villages that are in the fire privilege stage, and 35 villages are in the FRC stage, and 141 villages are in the FRC stage. Next. And currently, fire privilege program is engaging communities around April's concession area. By 2021, April has involved 39 villages that are included in 7 regencies spread around the Riau province. And this is the list villages participating in the fire privilege program. And as mentioned before, that we engage with the villages with different intensity according to where they are in the spectrum of the program. Next. Okay. The success of the fire-free village program inspired the establishment of a multi-stakeholder in 2016, known as the Fire-Free Alliance. It is a multi-stakeholder group, including a leading forestry, agriculture companies, and civil society organization with the objective is to share a best practice on how the best prevent fire and heat in Indonesia. So collectively, a total of 1.5 million hectares of land are now under MOUs with Fire-Free Alliance participants. And April and active partners comprising companies, civil society organizations are currently working with the district government of Pelalawan towards the issuance of a district government regulation on fire prevention. We call it a cluster-based program. And this is aimed at mainstreaming fire prevention as the main strategy in forest and land fire management. That's all from me, Pak Sihol, and now I over to you. Thank you very much.
Sihol, you are mute. Sorry.
Thank you, Danny. Now I'll just close. Next slide, please. I have a final slide. What have we learned from the 8-year journey of the Fire-Free Village program? First, prevention should be at the heart of fire management, forest and land fire management. Secondly, we should provide solution and incentives. Those are effective mechanisms in preventing fires. Yeah. Community and multi-stakeholders involvement are key to the success of fire prevention. And we have witnessed also that collaboration among land managers and businesses in one landscape would allow for much wider coverage with similar effectiveness. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Sihol. Thank you, Budani, for the presentation. I'm so happy today because, just like Pak Sihol said at the beginning, we have heard from Dr. Brady, a big picture, the history of Indonesia, for Indonesia, and how the new paradigms bringing up now with all the new technologies and information, everything. And we also heard from the Thailand and also the Lao PDR. And then I think, Pak Sihol you summarize all of them, like the prevention is the heart of all these activities, because, we can't rely on the, suppression, because that's more expensive and it's not easy to dealing with. And then also the incentives, that's also another key, if we want to go forward with, dealing with the people who ignite fires. I think from Thailand also bringing up this idea. So the community is the key for everything, I think, because human ignite fires is what we heard from all the countries, not only in Indonesia but also Thailand, Laos, and most of the Southeast Asia countries. So I have a bunch of questions anyway, and I also can see that a lot of questions in the chat room. Can we start with that? We have, let's say, less than 30 minutes, but we still have plenty of time to discuss. Some of the questions already answered by the speakers. Robbie, could you please to show some of them? At least each speaker has one question to answer. Robbie, or would you like to share some questions to share the slides? Okay, which one has? You still have 20 minutes, Pak Sihol. So just, the alarm is just ringing. Which one is answered by Dr. Brady? Otherwise, we can skip it. Okay, so I think this first, this slide. Dr. Brady, would you like to say something about all this question? I think most of the questions are for you.
Yeah, I've answered a couple of questions. There's a few that I haven't answered yet. Maybe I could address those instead of the ones that I've already answered.
Sure.
There was a question about mechanisms for prevention of fire in peatlands based on prediction models. And I mentioned the fire danger rating system, as being a model to predict essentially the drying process of fuels based on weather and the different types of fuels. One of the fuels being peat, as a heavy fuel. So there's I think my colleague from Thailand has also mentioned that the fire danger rating system is used all around the world, and it's always being recalibrated, strengthened. The peat, the drying process for peat is a particular area that does need to be further strengthened in fire danger rating systems. So that's one prediction model. Another prediction and type of prediction is on the wildfire threat assessment, and that is where you're predicting ignition. How fires will be started, and that typically would involve looking at population, community, spatial patterns on the landscape, economic activities. So trying to understand where ignition is most likely to occur. And I think our colleagues from April presented a very nice program on dealing with fire ignitions, around communities, and how to provide incentives to reduce ignitions. So those are two mechanisms for forecasting, for prediction. Another, that was one question. Part of that question was also dealing with methods for recovery of peatlands after fire. And I think, as we all know, and maybe we have some people here from the Indonesian Peatland and Mangrove Management Agency, BRGM, and they're the experts on peatland recovery. But essentially, it involves restoring the hydrological conditions through things like canal blocking, establishing vegetation cover to reduce temperatures in peat, which are temperatures a major factor in peat decomposition. So you want to basically cool it down, and then establishing vegetation, natural vegetation that can assist in re-establishing peat accumulation, the processes around peat accumulation, because peat is always in a state of decomposition. So those are some steps towards recovery. But again, our BRGM colleagues are the experts here. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Okay, so I believe you also can read later from the materials, and if the organizers can also send all the answers from the speakers, that would be great. Can we go over the questions for the second speaker, for Dr. Child?
Okay. I believe I answered most of them, but I would like to elaborate a little bit regarding what the Thai government do, or what other government are doing, because trying to enforce the law, but in a way back, you can capture many people. But then from what we are witnessing, the fire that will be ignited in the forest will be deeper and higher in the mountain. So it's very difficult to control, because that's the way that the people get back to you. So like prevention, I agree, totally agree that we need to work more on the prevention. We need to have income for them, so they don't have to go into the forest to do the non-timber product gathering or hunting to get to feed their daily life. So by enforcing the law is not really the way, but most of the high officers, politicians, let's just say, not high officer, they know that by enforcing the law is going to be more fires later. But the politicians, they believe by enforcing the law, or the urban urban people, let's just say that, who concerned about the air quality, will force the government, force the government to enforce more law or increase the penalties. But after, like last year, the incident that burning, I think like almost 100,000 acres, because of the incident that the hunting incident in one national park, and then they got captured. Then they'll be released later. And after that, all the fire in the forest, like they light the fire, I don't know, a few kilometers in length. So it's nowhere up in the mountain. It's nowhere that you can go in and try to control those fires. So it let it burn until it reached the river. So that's the way it was burning like that, because of the one incident later that found out that the chief of the national park captured the hunting party in that particular national park. So enforcing law sometimes it's gonna work a bit, but in the long run, when people get back to you, we don't have enough people to patrol all those in the protected area or in the forest. So it's so many ways that they can go in. So in the mind that you think that you can enforce the laws and people will listen, in the long term, I don't think it's going to work that way. So better work with the people. It is much better. And then regarding this prescribed burning, now we have a little bit less in Thailand because of this concern of the air quality. So prescribed burning is kind of prohibited during March and April. So anything you do, you have to do it before that, because of in the northern Thailand, the thermal inversion happened. But because of during January or February, the field not that dry to do this prescribed burning. So it's going to be the leftover of those fields. And then you can say that no burning period, but we cannot really control people to get into the forest. Okay. And even during the pandemic as well, no ranger going around and then the people can go in anytime they like. So it's kind of not really the total solution, not yet. So I believe we still need to negotiate. We need to talk. But from the Thai government side, so far they think that by enforcing the law or by single command or whatsoever, people will listen. But I think this is a trap, a big trap, that when people try to get back to against those policy, they don't like the policy, and then it kind of create the conflict. The big fire coming soon, I guess, if they're not really reduce this. I mean, like to enforce the law more and more, which is not the way. But they're not listening. They think with the gun they will be able to, but I don't think so. So yeah, that's my additional elaborate on those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chai. Do we have a question for Peter? Okay. Yeah, Peter would you like to answer this question, please? Based on your research and opinion, how the climate change policy affects wildfires in Laos, PDR?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Yenni. Any question to Laos or?
Yeah, so is there any, how the climate change policy affects wildfires in Laos? You work a lot with REDD plus and everything. Yes. So the participants, the North Korea asked you how the climate change policy affects wildfires in Laos. Was it, is now decreasing, or maybe is there any effect on that?
So thank you for the the question. So based on the existing policy in terms of the climate change policy in Laos, so now we have so far the national race strategy. It's gonna be signed by the Vice Minister of the Laos, Vice Minister of Ministry of our ministry to adopt the national race task force, national race strategy to to protect our the main driver, as I mentioned earlier, about the agriculture expansion and for the infrastructure and for the logging. But we have so far the policy like a national rate strategy, and we update the forestry law, and we try to integrate between the forestry law and the strategy under the law. And so it can help us to protect or to avoid the deforestation by the community, and for the to fight the forest fire, and to disseminate the new law, because we now update the forestry law, and we now propose already our strategy in terms of the climate change policy. So it's quite very useful for us decently to protect or to wildfire prevention. That's the thing I can explain a bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, next question for Mr.Sihol. We have 10 minutes left before conclude this session.
Okay, thank you very much. The challenges were, first and foremost, it is never easy to change the mindset of everyone, including the community members. Yes, so especially like land clearing with fire has been well practiced, is part of the traditional way of agriculture. So changing the mindset was a challenge, and the solution for that is we have to be vigilant. We have to be we have to persevere in raising the awareness. That is why in the design of Fire-Free Village program, we go to the school, we engage the community leaders, we engage the religious leaders, all stakeholders to make sure that the mindset and behavioral change will happen. Secondly, awareness of fire, of the hazard of fire, doesn't last forever. Right? So over the years, people may forget. So that is why we have to continuously engage the community members. Some villages which we have engaged with in 2014, for instance, are still with us now. We continue to engage them because it's important to maintain the continuity of the discipline of the fire risk awareness. Yeah. Second question I see is about my understanding is about how to transform this Fire-Free Village program into creating shared value program. It is already a shared value program because, for instance, if not for the fire prevention, then we would end up doing a lot of fire suppression, which is more costly. Doing a water bombing, say for instance, with a helicopter, will cost us at least $5,000 per hour of fire bombing. Right? So might as well we use same amount of money to prevent fire. Hence the incentive mechanism. Hence the deployment by April of heavy equipment to help the community members prepare the land for agricultural activities. So yeah, by design, Fire-Free Village program is a shared value program, not in the form of additional revenue for the company, but more of a cost saving and also avoiding the intangible risk of fire, of haze. Yeah. Thank you.
This is Veerachai. I totally agree with that. It's just like for our government, they would like to buy more helicopters than providing funding to the people, to the community. They don't. You asking for, I don't know, let's just say 1 million US. They don't have it, but they rather spend 1 billion US to get helicopters or like fancy suppression systems or whatsoever. It's just like very strange, but that seemed to be the way it is, because of course the incentive that they got from those, we don't know about that, but definitely we get something, and they get something from buying those big equipment, something like that. Yeah.
Dr. Chai, do you want to answer this question? I saw that in the chat room. You also, from Chandra Dewana.
Okay, yeah. The natural and man-made disaster now is a big issue also, because for the storm, well, the insurance in the US, I believe now, they're saying that it's the natural cause that the insurance company need to pay back. But now the argument more and more, like forest fire in the court, that they're not paying because it's a human related or man-made disaster now. Forest fires happen because of the people, and higher intense of the let's say hurricane is because of what we have done to the environment. That's why it's so intense. So now this is the argument of the insurance company in the court, that they pay less now, and the cost they tend to agree with, because with the climate change proving more and more that, oh, well, eventually we are the one who really make it, because by the law it's a natural cost that they have to pay, but now they're proving that those are not. So just want to point that out. But like tsunami is not related, but like earthquake, maybe not, I don't know, but eventually not. But for the fires, smoke, haze, or even the tropical cyclone or something that get more intense, probably, I think, related to what we have done to the atmosphere to change, the everything up there.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Chai. And
Can I comment on that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
why not?
This question about man-made versus natural disasters. I think for fire, it's it's a continuum. Certainly, initially, fire is human caused, usually in wildland areas where there has been a lot of human intervention, clearing, whatnot. But that continuum moves on into more severe conditions, say like El Nino dry periods, where clearly it's a phenomenon that is not, well, it's not man-made. I think some people are trying to link climate change to El Nino. That remains to be seen. But under those severe dry conditions, that is where I would think there's a transition to becoming a natural disaster. And you see that in things like tsunamis or flooding, where there's little ability. And we see in North America, Europe, Australia, their ability to manage wildfire during extreme dry periods is also very limited. And that brings me to a point that I always like to make at events like these, that the fire problem is not going to be tackled. It will not go away. So we need to recognize that it's an ongoing challenge that we always need to be putting resources into. It's not something that's going to be solved and we don't see that anywhere else in the world. I'm from Canada, where forest fires have been on the landscape for centuries, and it's still a big problem, and we still spend a lot of money on it. That's my preaching. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Brady. Well, I believe all the participants, even myself, got a new insights of from our discussion. Unfortunately, we have 1 minute left, and we still have one for closing remarks, because this is the last series of the webinar from the beginning. It is the 7 webinars and the last webinars. So first, I would like to thank all the amazing speakers, Dr. Michael Brady, Dr. Chai, Mr. Peter, and then also Pak Sihol. Thank you so much for giving new insight for all of us. And for that, I would like to conclude this this discussion. But before that, let me invite Mr. Ma from ITTO Japan to deliver his closing remarks, please.
Thank you very much, Yenni. Good morning and good afternoon, good evening, dear colleagues. It is my privilege and honor to make a few words during the closing of the today very impressive webinar. I'm Ma Hwanu. I'm project manager of ITTO Secretary. ITTO is promoting the SFM the traffic. We are located in Quiet City in Yokohama, Japan. And we at ITTO are very pleased to implement a fire project with the Indonesian Ministry of Environment Forestry with the many partners in the country. We are working in the area of the Kalimantan and the Sumatra with the series of the training course for farmers how to avoid no burning agricultural waste, and also early warning system and improving the network. I think this is very, very interesting. Impressed with the collaborative effort to prevent the fire activity. So we are today the 7th webinar in January, and today's topic was the fire prevention is really needed. I think more than needed. Michael from Canada, he also pointed out, fire is what the forest and land fire, vegetation fire is ongoing issue, ongoing national challenge, not only national, this is now the global challenge, how to prevent such a disaster. So I'm very pleased to hear many of the wonderful presentation and the discussion. So I would like to extend ITTO appreciation to all the participants who joined this webinar. Some participants, I learned that they are joined from far away. So we are in the online. So colleagues are joined Africa. I appreciate such a good participation. So Michael, you joined from Canada. I appreciate you also sharing the CIFOR, a lot of the fire-related research information. I also learned that some of the technique, like fuel reduction management, would be also important part of the future our the research or the practice in Southeast Asia. And also I appreciate very much how the Professor Veerachai, one of the leader in the Mekong region. It was a pleasure to see him again. And many, many interesting recommendations. I remember he has pointed out several recommendations, so I don't need to add. So he pointed out 10 recommendations, so it was very good. One point is I interested to learn from him, sustainable community-based water and fire management with the social income generation. It was very interesting. And Mr. Peter from Livelihood, I appreciate the presentation, although the internet connection was not perfect. And we learned that the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry is responsible to attack all the fire in mountainous area, like the palm plantation, very important. Today, we are very pleased to see private sector presentation. Normally, research and scientists or government officials, but we are very, very pleased to with the Sihol from the April, our president director. Actually, we expect to receive the Sihol presentation during the COP26 in Glasgow. So I'm very pleased to receive the Sihol present today. And we learn many, many interesting things from private sector.